know we all like to skip that step. I sometimes forget and skip the step too, but your paint sticks much better when you sand it and you don't get those little fuzzies on your board. So make sure you take the time to sand it. And I did sand around the edges and everything just to make sure that I had good clean edges and everything for painting. Because I'm doing mine as double-sided, I'm painting both sides. If yours is going to go against a wall and you're not selling it, if this is for personal use and you're only doing one image, you don't need to paint both sides. But because mine is actually going to go on my glass front door, I'm doing both sides and I'm painting them. One side took 2 coats of paint and the other side took 1 coat of paint. So it really depends on the board, and they were both sanded the same way. I used chalk paint and I didn't. Chalk paint dries a little faster and it gives you better coverage. If you have acrylic paint, then use acrylic paint, but use what you have. So now we're going to go over to your cutting machines. I pulled the image in. Again, the SVG files are sized to be 12 by 12. If you pull them into your Cricut, they will be sized bigger, so you'll just have to size it to the 12 by 12 if you're using those rounds, or 18 by 18, whatever size round you're doing. I want to point out that I have my vinyl on my cutting mat. There is no magic, you guys. It's really simple to do. All I do is I line them up in my cutting software. So you don't need to have, some people like to do this, the snap mat or whatever it's called. I don't even worry about it. I start one at 0 and 0 and put my image there, and then I just put them on the grids according to where they need to be. So it's just more like a puzzle. So you just put them on where you want them to be and you're good to go. So I do it that way. For those of you who are Cricut users, you can arrange your mats afterwards, after you send it, or if you change them all to one color and put everything down the way you want it or on there, you can finagle it and everything else like that. But again, there is no special magic here. I just line them up and send them to the printer, and away they go. One thing too, before you pull them out of your cutting machine, check to make sure you have good cuts. I had an issue with mine because the one piece didn't stick, and so it kind of came off and it didn't cut as well, so it just took me a little bit longer to weed, and you'll see that coming up, that it took me a little bit longer to weed that piece. Okay, so now we're just going to go through and we're going to weed all of our vinyl. When I did my vinyl, I did group the 2 yellow dots for the ones that had the hearts together, just so that I had the spacing, because I did a knockout on the lines for you. So one of the SVG files has the heart with the 2 dots, and the other SVG file for the Hello Spring, excuse me, has floral, and there are knockouts. So it makes life a little bit easier. Now this is the piece that I had issues that it kind of came off my mat, and so I couldn't send it back through for a better cut. So I'm going to reverse weed it, and so it's just going to take me a little bit longer. It's such a pretty vinyl. This one is actually it was from the mystery box from Vinyl Expressions. It's a really pretty floral glitter, and you can see it just didn't quite cut the way I wanted to. I wanted to send it through for another pass, but it kind of came off the mat, and so it was kind of, I had to fix what I have. It was cut enough, it just required a reverse weed and just a little bit of patience to get through it all and get everything good. So I'm just going through weeding everything out on it, and you can actually see today we have a visitor. This is Mr. Lemire. You'll see him coming into the picture here, and he loves, you guys. I could have edited him out, but I wanted to show you he is for the 12 Paws. This is where 12 Paws Designs come from, and he loves to craft. He especially loves vinyl. So when it comes to weeding, he will steal my vinyl. He will come in. You can see here he's trying to help me weed it and pull it and everything else like that. And so you can see that he just loves this. I was trying everything to get him out of the picture. I even call and ask my husband to help me, and instead you can see my husband will come in and he actually takes a picture of us because he thought it was so cute, and then he has to give him little scratchies because he thought it was just absolutely adorable, which it really was. I apologize he's in the video, but I did have to share because I know there's fellow pet lovers out there, and he's for the 12 Paws. And so I want to share my little love of my fur babies with everybody so you can see how sweet they are. So I'm just finishing up my weeding. Once that's all done, then we're gonna go ahead and apply it to the board. And you can see how clean these weeded and stuff like that. It was just the one piece that and that was 100% user error. Nothing with the machine, nothing like that. It was just a user error on my part. The solid vinyls that I'm using, I'm actually using StarCraft vinyl in this project, so that is the type of vinyl that I'm using today in this project. And as soon as we're done weeding, we will put it together. So now it's time to put the vinyl on the board. The mat that I have here is, it's a Cricut mat, and one of the things I like about it is really kind of bringing on the one side, which I use all the time. But the other thing that's really nice about it is that if you flip over to the other side, it has a grid line on it. So I can show you the grid line. And when I went to go put my transfer tape down, the kitty was bothering me, and so I didn't get it on straight. So I'll show you how I work through it. Life happens. So I pull everything off. I burnish it on the back side to make sure they stick, and I apply the transfer tape to my hello and some of my other words as well. I'm using 6-inch transfer tape that again I purchased from Expressions Vinyl. I really do like their vinyl because it comes in the 12 and the 6, and I really like that 6-inch length. So here I am. You saw where I flipped over the grid, and because I'm using the 12 by 12, it fits in there really, really well. And one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put the line down. That way that I can space everything accordingly. And you can see here I didn't have to get any rulers out or anything. It helped that I could just eyeball it once I had my circle on the mat and I knew right where I could put it, and then just do some eyeballing to make sure I had everything the way I wanted it positioned. Lay that down, use my squeegee and rubbed it down really well, and then just pulled off the transfer tape. One thing to note is that when I did paint these, my board sat for a good day, so it had good time to dry. If you want to put your vinyl on right away and you don't want to wait a day, because I do suggest that to make sure everything holds well, use a hairdryer or a heat gun, and you can heat that up and it'll speed the process along. And then you can just see here, I didn't use any registration marks. I'm not using parchment paper or anything. This is a complete eyeball, you guys. If you can see, the leaves fit into a certain spot, so I put the tulip down because that had its home. The leaves fit a certain way because I just did the knockout. And then when it came to the my yellow and pink flower, eyeball it and go. Have a good time. Don't overstress it. That coming from somebody who's OCD, so don't overstress it. Just lay it down and it will totally work. And you can see here where I just used my X-Acto knife or my cutting knife, and I just picked up those dots for the center of the flowers and just applied them because the vinyl just picked up. I didn't need to use transfer tape for that. And now I'm just laying down that really pretty floral glitter vinyl and laying that down, and then we're going to lay down the hello. And you could put the spring down last and put the hello first, or vice versa. It really doesn't matter. But I did do my flowers first just so that I could line that hello up. And again, this is kind of a whimsical one, so there's no exact, this has to be here, that has to be there, anything else like that. Lay it down where you want. You can see where I didn't burnish it down well enough, and you can see when I went to go pull the transfer tape, it came off. Again, you guys, it's no big deal. All I did was pull it off the rest of the way, and then I used my cutting knife and I just picked up my tweezers and I just picked up that extra little piece, relined it back up and laid it down. You can't even tell. So hey, I craft all the time. I have mistakes. You work with it. So then what I did is because I have, like I said, the glass door, I'm doing both sides. So when I laid my board down, I made sure that my line was where I wanted it to be. So I made sure that it was like on the 4-inch line, because that way then I know when I laid everything down, it was right where I wanted to go. So it made it a lot easier to line everything up. So I just lined it up on the back side, and I know that I'm exactly on the opposite of it for laying everything down. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put my dots on, and then I'm gonna put my heart on, and then I'll put the words on. And again, these are knockouts, so it was a lot easier to put those dots down first and then eyeball that heart. Doesn't have to be perfect, just eyeball it in, lay it down, and away you go. The heart is a glitter coral that also came in the mystery box from Expression Vinyl, so use both of those up as well. And I really love the line color. It's kind of that teal color, Tiffany blue. I just really think it's a pretty color, so I thought it was just a great combination, because it was actually, there's a little bit of that blue right in that glitter vinyl. Again, we're just laying down the word hello, burnishing it out, and then pulling off our transfer tape. Now it's time to add the finishing touches onto our sign. Again, because mine's reversible, I'm going to need 2 bows. I decided that I'm going to do wood beads for my hanger, and then I'm going to add some floral picks and some leaves into it as well. I need 2, I'm going to do messy bows today, so I'm going to do 2 messy bows, and I'm going to use some striped burlap that I have. I have some polka dot burlap that I'm going to use. Then I have the pink and purple plaid, and then I have colored plaid stripe. Use whatever you have. Some of mine came from the Dollar Tree, some of it came from Walmart, some from other craft stores. So I just went through my stockpile and grabbed out what I had. And you can see I actually had some organza ribbon, little tiny 1/4 inch ribbon. I put jute in my bows as well. That's one fun thing about a messy bow, is you can put all kinds of different things right into the bow and have a good time with it. And then I laid, because that piece is bigger in the back, I just used 1. Everything else I did 2 of each. And then you just layer and put things together, and just lay everything on top, and just keep putting everything on top. And then I took a piece of jute after I had everything the way I wanted to. I took a piece of jute, put it on, in this case I put it underneath my messy bow, pulled it all together and squeezed it, and then tied my knot, wrapped it around, and tied it again. And then just make a mess with it. Just scrunch it up, do whatever you want, just have fun with it. That's the nice thing about a messy bow, it does not have to be perfect. Again, the sign is kind of whimsical, so that's why I went for the messy bow. And then here I'm doing the same thing, just making my second bow, same thing, putting them down in different crisscrosses, putting my organza, putting them in different levels, using that jute to tie it off. And then once it's all tied off, then I just make a nice little mess with them. They're just really fun, pretty bows. Once those are done, then I'm going to string up my beads. And these are just beads that I took and painted. And one way I like to paint them, to make it really, really easy, is I just put a little bit of paint in a Ziploc bag. And I get those from the Dollar Tree because they're really inexpensive. I put them into the Ziploc bag, and then I can just put it between my fingers and just paint them. And then what I'll do is I'll actually put them out on a piece of parchment paper to dry. And a lot of times they'll need the second coat, and this is a mix. I've used chalk paint, I've used acrylic paint, I've used shimmer paint, glitter paint, that type of stuff. Usually most of them will use a second coat. And so what I do is, after I put them on the parchment paper, you guys, I ziplock the bag shut so that the paint stays nice and wet, or whatever's left in the bag. And then I'll let them dry for a little bit, throw them back in the bag, throw a little bit more paint, and then finish paint. Just again, rub them between my fingers, and then put them on the parchment and let them dry. Then I just took a piece of jute, and then I just took a piece of floral wire and used it as my threader. Put the jute on the threader and then just threaded through the beads and went from there. And so I just used the different colors that I have. So then I took some floral picks, again, Dollar Tree, Walmart, wherever you can get them from. I usually wait for them to go on sale. Use my glue gun, put the eucalyptus leaves down first, then I just put the bow on it. One of the things on the one side that I kind of missed on it is I started my glue dot down too far, and so then I had to kind of correct some things so that you didn't see the white on the top of the board. On the second side, I correct that, and it's not a big deal, but I just put a little glue then on each of those picks, and I stuck them into the bow area, into the eucalyptus leaves, and just added that extra pop of color onto the bow area in the floral area. And so just finish that up. And then once that one side is done and everything's glued down really well, then I'll just flip it over and I'm going to do the same exact thing on the other side. You can use the same flowers. I just chose a couple of different flowers because I had different ones to choose from, but you can do the same flowers either way, not a problem. And then and you can see on this one, I actually went a little bit closer to the top edge. So that was just a little thing. It was no big deal. It was just a little gotcha. And once I had everything filled in, and I filled it in with the flowers and stuff like that, you don't even know that happened. It's just an OCD thing for me, no big deal. So I just added my little floral picks in there, finished everything up. And what I really, really like about the messy bows is that once you're done, you can just mess them up to fill everything in after you stick your colors in. And one of the things that you'll notice is I actually stuck the picks inside of the messy bow to add that little dimension to it. Now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to attach my beads. Because this is the 1/8 inch wide birch boards, they're really super light. So me gluing the jute down is all it really needs. So I put some glue down, I put the jute into it, put glue over the top, and then I did a little cheat and I took the leaves from the eucalyptus and I squeezed it on there so that it really gave that extra level of adhesion to it, so it had something to stick to it. So have fun, do your different things that you want to do with it, and just play around, make everything the way you want. There's no wrong or right way. Use what you have. Again, I just went into my stash area and used what I had, and I think it turned out beautiful, both sides. And so I put it on my door, and I love it because I can see it one side when the door is closed, so I can see how pretty it is. And if I'm outside or whatever, I can see the other side, and it's just as pretty. So I love that. I made a reversible one for my front glass door. Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial of making these really pretty Hello Spring boards. Again, this is double-sided so that I can hang it on my glass wall or my glass door. If you're just going on a wall, you really only need to do the one side. Have fun. Share your projects back, you guys. I really, really enjoy seeing everything, so share them back, and we will see you later. Bye.